Are either of you
Okay.
guys big have you played Dungeon Dragons? Do you have a background with that at all?
Nope.
My background is sad and dramatic because every time I've wanted to play, I have the dice. I have mermaid dice in my room. I've built a
Ooh.
character. I've done the whole thing. And every single time I finally had like a group to try it with, it just died out because like one person couldn't make it, or maybe the lockdown like fucked someone over or whatever. So I still have not played it. I really want to though. I'm all about it.
How many players is it? I literally know next to nothing about it. All I know is it's a fantasy game. That's literally the only thing I know about it.
I think it's just
It,
you can just like there are rules, but I think a lot of people just make them up as they go.
yeah.
um,
You roll the dice and you face challenges, and it's a story, and you have a dungeon master who guides you through the story, and it's pretty open world.
yeah, I've played I think twice, but the common theme I find is everybody wants to do this big, expansive adventure, which requires
Yeah.
multiple sittings. But that's really hard to get a group of people together. So you get them
Yeah.
together for one game, and then it'll just never happen again. So
Mm.
I remember back in like high school, I did it over Skype once, and that was kind of fun. And then I did it once with a group of some of our friends from uni once, and I just remembered we had a friend of the show, Anna. I remember she in particular, she had a very like I want to win strategy. But I think with Dungeon Dragons, it's not really about winning; it's just about having a good time. And
Yeah.
so the strategy was like every time the dungeon master would be like, "There's a road ahead," and I think her strategy would be like, "We analyze the road. Okay, we take one
Yeah.
step. Now we analyze it again." It's like the dungeon master, I think, from my understanding, isn't supposed to like fuck us over and make us lose all the time. It's more about providing us a good experience. So it was really funny just trying to play a game where it's like it's kind of frustrating because we were trying to we're being so overly cautious that like our dungeon master was kind of like, okay, everything's fine, guys. You can just move on. It was so yeah, we were bad. We were bad at playing it, I think.
How much of it is your imagination compared to what the game actually like throws in your direction? Like, is it mostly your imagination, or is it
I think
like,
it's
do you know
an
what I
even
mean?
skew. It's there's a lot of imagination involved.
I like to
So
think of it like improv. It's like
yeah.
it's like you have someone. It's like you're just telling a story together, and every now and then you do some maths. Yeah, and like there are books and stuff, but like all that stuff is really just to help people with no imagination. I think they tell them what kind of monsters can appear and stuff,
Yeah.
but like the dungeon master kind of creates the story from my understanding. Have either of you seen the other Dungeons and Dragons movie from I think the early 2000s?
No.
No. I know about it, but
That's
I've
the
never
same
seen
time.
it.
I remember watching it when I was a kid. When we find it, Dungeons and Dragons came out in year 2000, starring I think it was Jeremy Irons. Yeah, Jeremy Irons, Justin Whalen, Zoe McLean. I remember thinking at the time it was okay. I remember thinking it wasn't great. I think I only watched it once, but apparently Dungeons and Dragons fans
those
hate
ratings
it.
though.
Yeah, it's got real
14,
bad reviews.
14 Metascore.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. Like
Oof.
I don't remember it being that bad. But apparently it is. But again, I was like probably
Is this
11.
like
Really?
is this like the Mario Brothers movie where you got the rose tinted glasses? You're like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, this is so cool.
I think, yeah.
Well, no, because even back then I was just like, oh, cool, they're dragons with PS1 graphics. But I never was. I don't think I ever watched it again a second time. But what I do understand is Dungeons Dragons fans hate it. From my understanding, Dungeons Dragons fans hate the original Dungeons Dragons movie because there's not a lot of like references to the game. Like
the actual game.
Yeah, it was during that period of time where like, how do we make these fantasy worlds realistic? Like the X-Men were wearing black leather instead of yellow underpants and stuff.
Yeah.
So they took out all the kooky, weird stuff, which apparently is what makes Dungeons and Dragons. And that's what the fans, from my understanding, like about this new trailer, is the fact that it gets weird. Like there's a there's a shot of there's a treasure chest with teeth. That's like an enemy from the game, and apparently it's like a fan favorite thing. So that's
okay,
like
well they've taken this into consideration, which is good because you can't just take a name and expect that that's going to be enough to hold the fort for you, or it'll blow up in your face if that's all you're doing.
Yeah, like I think with a franchise like Dungeons and Dragons, you got to treat it like Lego or the Barbie movie, where it's like people don't know Dungeons and Dragons for these amazing characters and stories that are pre-written because people are making it up. So all you can do is really adapt the world, and then you got to try and just hope they'll enjoy the ride. So I think the only way to really make the fans happy is just give them a shit ton of Easter eggs and stuff like that.
And the original, like the writing is going to have to come through the characters you introduce, the originality to it.
Yeah.
So,
and really with something, it's like with something like this, you've got nothing to roll. You don't have any predetermined stories that I'm aware of that you can rely on. So you really need a good writer there. Which makes me think, as I say it, I'm just going to Google who wrote this movie. Let's find that out right now. All right, we're ready. We're finding out live. We've got Chris McKay did Story By. Okay. We were talking Chris McKay recently on the podcast. He's the guy who's directing Renfield coming up.
Yes.
And he directed Lego Batman movies. So he's not the story, he's not the screenwriter, but he came up with the story. So that's interesting. And our writers are okay. We got one writer who did Spider-Man Homecoming and the Vacation reboot, which was all right. And this other person, not familiar with any of these. It looks like this might be their big break. So, this other guy did Bones as well, the TV show Bones. So, it's not exactly a hard hitter there, but wait, this dude. Oh my God.
What?
This guy,
which dude?
This writer, his name is John Francis Daley. He was an actor in Freaks and Geeks back in the day. I used to like that show. That's cool. Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, guys, what do you think of the trailer? Let's start with Jesse. What are your initial thoughts seeing this trailer?
I thought it looked really, really interesting, like really entertaining. Looked like a fun night out at the movies. I like the fact that they gave a lot of comedic elements to the characters. The characters are all kind of goofy, especially Chris Pine. And it was good to see Michelle Rodriguez. We'll be discussing 2 trailers with her in them. It looked like really like, I don't know, like it looked like a great fantasy film, but then it had the great comedic moments to it. It didn't take itself too seriously. It comes across as very mainstream. It looks sick. I'm down to go see it. I know jack shit about Dungeons and Dragons or any of that kind of stuff, but it looks like just a fun time at the movies. So I'm definitely down to go see it.
80, what about you?
I am really excited. This cast I think it's going to be really perfect. Hugh Grant's in it. I love him. I will watch any movie for him.
I didn't even see him.
He is in this film. And it'll be really nice actually to see Michelle Rodriguez in something completely different than she's ever done before. So I'm very keen for that. And Chris Pine is an excellent comedian. He is extremely underrated and he's really good at being sarcastic. And what I'm also a fan of is one of the directors of the film, I think it's Jonathan Goldstein. He's done films like Horrible Bosses and Game Night, which I feel like already is going to set it. Yeah, very solid comedies, comedically. Yeah, and even the dark elements of those comedies, I think that in my brain sets a tone straight away for what to expect with this. And I think it's going to be multi-layered with a bunch of genres thrown into the mix. And I'm really hoping it's well written and laugh out loud funny. And I sort of hope that there's like a bit of shock comedy, because that's sort of what he seems to do with his films too. So even in Vacation, like same thing. They go hard or go home.
When you say it's a different character for Michelle Rodriguez, I always kind of feel like she plays the tough talking, badass kind of like. I know. I guess you're referring to her being in a medieval.
Yeah, I
setting.
mean, like a new world, a different world.
Yeah. She's always just that one character, just like talks tough, and
it's nice to see her in a different franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe in Fast X they end up in a medieval thing through a time machine. That could happen. At this point, who the fuck knows? But I'm really excited to see her in a not Fast and Furious movie.
I think we're laughing about the same thing. And say Fast X really fast 5 times for me.
Fast X, I can't.
Can you imagine Vin Diesel on a horse and he just turns to someone else and he's like, "It's all about family," and then he just rides off.
Oh my god.
That's all I want now. That's all I want.
It's the ultimate crossover. Also, can we just appreciate, I think, the set design? It looks really, really cool.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. There are some nice locations looking here. I have a feeling a lot of it might actually be on like a green screen or LED backdrop. I think a lot of them might be fake, but with practical elements throughout though. But yeah, it looks visually does look really nice. All right, I'm gonna come out with some negatives here. Okay.
All right. Okay. Bring it on.
Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves looks like discount Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, Mom, do we have Guardians of the Galaxy? No, we have Guardians of the Galaxy at home. This is it. It's just, I feel like the music choices, the wackiness, and
the music choices.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying this really, really wants to be Guardians of the Galaxy. This is discount Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel. And I think when you look now what we've been doing, we're looking over the directors and the writers, they've really chosen people with comedy backgrounds because they want to make this the family laugh out loud type adventure, sci-fi adventure type thing, except it's fantasy, not sci-fi.
Are you just saying that because it's like, it's a wacky group of different personalities thrown together and they're all kind of comedic and riff on each other and stuff?
Yes, but also this movie would not have been made 10 years ago. If this movie would never exist if Guardians of the Galaxy didn't exist, because Guardians of the Galaxy made this tone trendy. And I think things like Thor Ragnarok and Taika Waititi helped popularize it. And then when you look at the shitty Suicide Squad by David Ayer and stuff like that, they're all trying to capitalize off this tone established by James Gunn. And I feel like this is heavily getting inspiration from that tone-wise. I'm not saying it's bad. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's one of Marvel Studios' best franchises. I also think it's kind of interesting. You got Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez. Both of them haven't been in franchises before. So I kind of feel like they got they got them from the discount bin a little bit.
Oh no!
They're not,
wow.
I'm saying they're known celebrities, but they're not exactly hot right now. So but this could be, if it does well, it could really boost their careers. I think Rochelle still is Fast and Furious, but
I think Chris Pine's.
Chris Pine?
What's Chris Pine done lately?
He's within the outer atmosphere of.
He is an actor who's not stopped working since he got on the scene.
Chris Pine is the worst of all the Chris's.
Oh no, I disagree.
Name one Chris better. Name one Chris worse. Chris Hemsworth, better Chris. Chris.
My answer. Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
So annoying now.
You rather Chris Pratt? Oh no, you rather Chris Pine over Chris Pratt?
Yeah, I think he's way more charming and has more acting chops.
Honestly, I think I've seen Chris Pine in more stuff than I've seen Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans in.
Nah, you know what? I feel like I like how Chris Pratt is more of an everyman, and Chris Pine, he's too well put together. He's too attractive. He's too clean cut. He could have played Ken in the Barbie movie.
What are you talking about?
They literally are all.
You're right. We're literally comparing nuggets of gold. This one's shinier. They're all the same. You're right. Yeah. Look, I'm giving Chris Pine a hard go. But I'm sure this movie will be fine. I'm sure it'll be great. I think it'll be all right. I think it'll be fun. But like none of the jokes made me laugh out loud. There were no action set pieces that made me go, oh my God. So I feel like this movie is going to come together and be good enough. Does that make sense? That's not a diss.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'm not saying it's not going to be, it's going to be a very solid 7 out of 10 movie. And, you know, we need 7 out of 10 movies in this world. You know,
we do.
They have their purpose. I'm more than happy to be wrong. I would love if I got there and then this movie was like just the humor was like way edgy than I expected. And it just got me, which is possible. Like this guy, his team behind it has done stuff like that before. I should give him more credit because the creative team behind it does have a good track record. Yeah. Look, we'll see what happens. Any other thoughts, comments on Dungeons & Dragons?
I want to say that I don't want my expectations to be too high just because I'm a fan of the game and the world and everything, that the whole fandom and stuff. But if I'm pleasantly surprised at the end of it, I'll be happy too. If it's a 7 out of 10, I'll be happy with that.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll see what happens with this one. Like, I'm sure I'll be fine, but yeah, we'll find out in about a month's time.